me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
Sometimes we have to remind our own professionals that they are impacted every day that they choose to show up for work. They are making an impact on somebody's lives, on a community, on a business. And that is kind of the language that we have to start using. I love the way this video links us to health and links us to the economy. It's not just about fun and games. That's an important part of what we do, but the impact of doing those things is much broader. And that's the message I think that really resonates with decision makers.
Welcome back to the Daily Parks and Rec Show, live from the 2025 NRPA Conference. In today's episode, our host, Dave Ramirez from OutdoorLink, sits down with one of Florida's most respected leaders, Eleanor Warmack, CEO of the Florida Recreation and Park Association. With nearly 4 decades of experience, Eleanor has dedicated her career to empowering professionals at every stage, from emerging leaders to executive directors, and advocating for the vital role parks and recreation plays in every community. In this conversation, she shares how FRPA's innovative programs, including their new Career Map initiative, are shaping the next generation of leaders, and why she believes Parks and Rec isn't just a service, it's essential to our health, safety, and economy. Get ready for an inspiring discussion on leadership, advocacy, and the future of our field. Let's dive in.
Good morning and welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. I'm Dave Ramirez with OutdoorLink, and I'm going to be conducting a few interviews this morning with friends and considered family members of mine through my career in Parks and Recreation. This morning I have Eleanor Warmack with the Florida Recreation and Park Association, and I'm going to let her speak a little bit about herself and her career in Parks and Rec. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. So I am the Chief Executive Officer of the Florida Recreation and Park Association, so the state of Florida. I kind of happened into this world because I got my degree actually in association management from Florida State University, and was very fortunate right out of college to obtain a job with FRPA under Fran Manella, who was the executive director at that point, and have been there ever since. So 39 years later, here I still am.
That's amazing. I've been part of FRPA since 2004, coming in as a young professional, and I'm telling you the impact the association and the members for me earlier in my career meant so much. Where before I retired, it really helped me get to where I was going to be. And you want to talk a little bit about the association and some of the things that it does for local state professionals and pretty much anybody in their career.
Yeah, absolutely. So state associations exist for the sole purpose of bettering our professionals. And when we can achieve that goal, then we achieve the indirect goal of advancing the field as a whole. So everything we do at FRPA revolves around developing our professionals, young, middle, and upper level, as well as advocating on the behalf of the industry. That is one of the primary things that we do. So we develop our professionals in a number of different ways, education, different types of learning environments. Not everything is an education session. Some of it is volunteer experience with us. Some of it is just dialogue and conversation, podcast opportunities like this that just impart that knowledge that people need to know as they progress through their careers in the field. And that's really our primary purpose. Totally focused on members. What the members want is what we try to do and how we deliver it.
Well, I know when I came in, like I said, I had to sort of fight back in the day to become a member, and I was glad I did. And then, got involved at the regional level, and taking care of educational sessions in the central part of the state. I got a couple of years as the vice president of the organization, which was a difficult time too during 2020, but I was really, I enjoyed that time and learned a lot. And again, I'd like you to focus a little bit on the education part, because I am a proud graduate of the Abrams Academy with FRPA. I went through Emerging Leaders, and I know there's been some change in the education part. So
Yes.
good share.
Yeah, so we focus here in Florida really hard at kind of trying to do a holistic approach to education. So we have 3 what we call intensive learning opportunities dealing with developing leaders in the field. So we have one program that's our emerging leaders. Those are our really younger professionals, first-time leaders in their agencies. We have a leadership school that really kind of captures that middle level supervisor. And then we have our Abrams Jones Academy, which is our kind of our training program for that next generation of directors. And each one of them delivers kind of the same content, but at a level that's appropriate for the people who are attending those programs. And when we've just gotten tremendous response from that, our statistics, when we pull, especially from our Abrams Academy, how many of those graduates have gone on to advance in their career, it's just pretty phenomenal. And those are also really interesting to watch because those relationships that develop in those programs end up being lifelong relationships, professional relationships and personal relationships with the individuals that kind of travel that journey together. And then this year, we're going to be unveiling before the end of the year a new project that we've got, which is a career map. So it will show somebody from the time they enter the field what path that they have available to them to travel to meet whatever goal they want to. And that's from the entry level person all the way up to what we call the organizational executive level, which would be that director of a park and recreation agency. And all of that is backfilled with educational opportunities, not just those that are available through Florida, but also those that are available through NRPA, through other state organizations, through other state associations that represent different disciplines within the field. So it's really important, I think, when we look at developing professionals that we're not only looking at what we can offer, but what holistically develops a professional.
You know, I'm a huge supporter of those programs, and not only those major ones, you do things throughout the year too with your Park Institute and your Maintenance Institute and rodeos. You know, OutdoorLink likes to get out there and support those as well, and we'll try to get some sponsorship going. But you know, it's very well rounded, and there's something for everybody. So you know, again, like I said, if you're new coming into the field and you're here in Florida, I'd recommend to go ahead and talk to your supervisors or your director to get involved because it's definitely going to help you advance. It helped me in my career, sure. And later this morning, I'll have a few other guests coming on that sort of I was like a mentor to, with, you know, and young professionals coming in and now they're directors and whatnot throughout the state. And I love it. I just enjoy seeing them and seeing where they got. I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah, that's what really keeps us going from a staff perspective is when we can see individuals that have actually progressed because they've participated in something that we've done, or they've been successful in their own communities, or they've been successful at a state level. We certainly have started to see in Florida, and I don't know if this is the case all over the country, but we've started to see even a lot of our directors of departments moving into city and county administration. So we have about 14 former park and recreation directors right now that are either a city manager or a deputy city manager. We've got 12 that are county managers now. So that, again, is part of that growth that in our early years we probably didn't think about, but it's so important because those people carry their park and recreation history with them as they are put into a higher level decision maker about what's going to be funded and what's not going to be funded in communities across the state. So it's so important to build those relationships. They just keep continuing on.
Yeah, once Parks and Recreation, always Parks and Recreation. It does not leave the blood, man. No. I tell you, it's great. And it's a different group of people. And, you know, and like I said, there's so many outstanding recreators here in the state and throughout the country. With myself, I get to do a lot of traveling now and get to meet wonderful people throughout the country. And they all have the same desire, they just love what we do. So
it's all about the relationships and the exposure, and coming to events like we're here at NRPA, coming to these types of events, whether they're local or state or national, even if you don't make those personal connections with people, you're hearing those conversations in the hallways, in the restrooms. And some of those conversations just inspire our professionals to want to have more, to want to be more, whether that's themselves professionally or whether want more for their communities. And I think that's just such a huge benefit of these gatherings, just that inspiration.
Very true, very true. I'm gonna go ahead. We're gonna pop in a video real quick here, just promoting the field and the profession, and we'll follow up afterwards.
When we talk about essential services, what comes to mind? Police, firefighters, healthcare. But there's another essential service, often overlooked, yet always present: parks and recreation. Parks and Rec is health. It's the walking trail that lowers blood pressure, the recreation center where seniors fight isolation, the swim lessons that prevent tragedy before it happens. This isn't a luxury, it's a lifeline. Parks and Rec is safety. A playground instead of a street corner, a basketball court instead of trouble, a summer camp where every child belongs. It's not just about activity, it's about protection, prevention, and possibility. Parks and Rec is community, the festival that brings neighbors together, the cultural event that teaches respect and diversity, the open space where a city breathes. It builds bridges where division once stood. It gives people a reason to gather, to connect, to care. And Parks and Rec is economics. It strengthens property values. It drives tourism through events and trails. It saves on healthcare costs. Every dollar invested multiplies, feeding back into schools, into safety, into growth. Essential service is not just about survival, it's about thriving. And Parks and Recreation is where thriving begins. In wellness, in equity, in culture, and in joy. Parks and Rec isn't extra, it's essential. For our health, for our safety, for our communities, for our future. A message from the Parks and Recreation community.
Such a great video, so impactful for the field and what we do. And when I watch that, I actually get a little goosebumpy. You know, it's like, all right, yeah, it's sort of nailing it on the head there. This is what we do. And, you know, I talked to Craig LeBlanc at my interview a couple of days ago, and I had said essential. And I use that all the time in the Parks and Rec field, because everything that was brought in that video, yeah, we're doing. There's things like here in Florida with storms, we become first responders. You know, the Parks and Rec title goes away, and we're security, we're debris, we're cleanup, we're safety, we're out in the community doing all that. So well-rounded, diverse, essential field for sure.
Those are such an important message for us to carry all the time, not just when we need to have extra advocacy for things, but I think sometimes we have to remind our own professionals that they are impacted every day that they choose to show up for work. They are making an impact on somebody's life, on a community, on a business. And that is kind of the language that we have to start using. I love the way this video links us to health and links us to the economy. It's not just about fun and games. Yes, that's an important part of what we do, but the impact of doing those things is much broader. And that's the message I think that really resonates with decision makers. So when we are having budget cuts or we're having hard economic times, when a decision maker can understand that if they're not funding an after-school program, they're going to have to beef up the budget for their sheriff's department or their police department, because those kids left unsupervised are going to be at risk for that. And then when we look at things like our lifeguards and our swim teachers and our aquatics professionals, you know, you can't attach a dollar value to what it saves a community when they save a life in a swimming pool or on a beach, and especially here in Florida. But the impact to that being able to happen because someone learned to swim is so potent of a message. And think the more as a profession we can all start using those terms and start referencing ourselves as essential and making sure that we don't just say it, that we educate and we inform the general public that that really is a thing. We're not just using a catchword that's out there. That is a return on their investment, whether that's through their property taxes or special taxes. That is the result of what they are investing in their community. And it's an investment that never has ever not returned a high yield. So I think that's just a strong message. And it's something everyone can understand.
Yes, and it sort of brings me back to the 4 pillars back in the day with our organization here in the state. You know, looking at that video, we keyed in on a lot of it. So again, and you know, the field, and you know, we could wrap up here a little bit. You know, what's your thoughts on the future of the profession?
You know, I think our future's bright. I believe it's always going to be bright. People are always going to want to be outside. They're always going to want to enjoy the programs offered through a Parks and Recreation department. But I think we have work to do. I think there's always going to be decisions made at levels higher than any of us are. I mean, we're going to have to continue to advocate to make that argument that we are essential for not just this generation, for generations to come. Here in Florida, we're facing a huge debate next year in our legislative session over property taxes. And we've been here before. I mean, we know the impact of what happens when those property taxes get rolled back. But it's our obligation, I think, to inform our patrons, and not just our patrons, but those non-users that also are benefiting from Parks and Recreation. I use the example of, I don't have any children, but I will pay property tax all day long if it goes to fund my public school system, because it makes for a more educated community, which speaks to quality of life. So I think we have to talk to the non-users of our fields and our courts and our programs and our public spaces as much as we talk to the patrons. Patrons are sold, you know, they wouldn't be there if they didn't believe in the value of what we do. It's the people who aren't entering the buildings and aren't engaging with us that we really need to carry that message to.
Very much so, very much so. Well, Eleanor, I appreciate your time this morning.
You're back.
It's been great. Thank you for sharing. And I know you're probably heading home back to Tallahassee after this. So safe travels. And
Thank
look
you.
forward to working with you soon.
Great. Thank you.
At DPRS Media Co., we believe Parks and Recreation isn't just a service, it's the heartbeat of our communities. We exist to honor the people, the vendors, and the leaders shaping the future of Parks and Rec. Our mission is simple: to tell their stories, highlight their careers, and celebrate their essential work. Our vision is bold: to be the trusted hub where leaders, vendors, and communities unite, inspiring innovation, sharing wisdom, and building a stronger, healthier nation. Through over 220 live shows and 6 weekly series, the Leadership Series, Facility Maintenance, Young Professionals Network, Youth Sports Mastery, The Rec Room, and Growing Leaders, plus our industry-leading newsletter, the weekly Parks and Rec Post, we're building a media platform made for the Parks and Rec community. And now, we're inviting strategic partners to co-create this story with us. As a partner, you'll gain 12 hours of annual live exposure with custom shows highlighting your expertise, polished 60-second promos refined for maximum impact, year-round visibility with dozens of replays across our media network, premium features in our newsletter, and amplified social media reach across LinkedIn, X, and Facebook. This is your chance to educate, inspire, and lead while connecting directly with the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. This is DPRS Media Co. Let's build the future of Parks and Rec together.